Time now for an in-depth look at the market news on this Friday, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, global strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, thank you for making time today.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, Wall Street was mostly down overnight despite the ECB announcing new stimulus. The market may be looking a bit overbought to some investors. The S&P down by 1/3%. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, as you said, because of very strong rally that we've seen in the last week or so, the U.S. market took us some breather yesterday. However, though, continuation of a huge boosting measures that were expected to be announced by various countries are actually pushing the market up even higher. If you look at the futures market for U.S., it's already up about 1% for S&P futures, and NASDAQ futures are up about 0.7%. If you look at the various reports coming out, the Trump administration's officials are increasingly expect to spend up to $1 trillion in the next round of economic stimulus. And in terms of how that will be done, we're not sure. But nevertheless, the messages that delivered by the governments continues to say they will do anything impossible to have economic recovery come through. This kind of the behavior is actually happening not just U.S. but also European market. European governments are all talking about additional boosting measures if necessary. All that is resulting into quite strong rally today. We see that the futures market of U.S. as well as the European market right now, they are all rising by somewhere between 1% to 2%.
Right. Well, here in Korea, the session started out with some uncertainty, but the KOSPI ended up gaining more than 1%. What was the story today?
Right. As you said, with the taking some breather of U.S. market, Korean market also started with slightly down as of in the morning, but as the afternoon passed, we saw market rallying. The KOSPI was up by 1.43% again, almost nearing to 1280 range. Now, KOSDAQ also up to about 750, which is up by another 0.93%. Clearly, we are seeing continuation of liquidity-driven rally in the Korean market. Today, the major leader for that is institutional money. The Korean institutions were buying Korean equity quite aggressively in terms of the KOSPI. As for the KOSDAQ, we saw foreign investors buying quite significant amount to push up the market index quite higher. Clearly, we think that the level of the cash position, level of the liquidity condition in the market is quite ample enough to show further rise of the Korean equity market, at least in the short term.
Well, we see oil continuing to rise now to the $37 range. West Texas Intermediate and OPEC and its allies largely sticking to the production cuts they agreed to, but there's uncertainty about whether those cuts will be extended. Tell us about what's happening in oil and your outlook.
Sure. I've been saying that the oil prices should be quite resilient, but nevertheless, it would be a range bound between $30 to $40. When the oil price crashed to negative territories about a month ago, we were saying that with the production cut and also the relative demand measures remaining, we thought that the oil price should be remaining somewhere between $30 to $40. However, though, oil price breaking above $40 might be difficult because of the current situation where the demand for oil, particularly from the gasoline-driven cars, would probably much weaker demand going forward, as the electric cars will be taking quite big part of the market share in the future. All being said, we think that the oil price in a short term, though, will show quite a bit of a rise to probably close to $40. Right now, it is hitting about $37.8 for the WTI. The reason for that is because most of the economies are reopening. And most of the people are anticipating with all these boosting measures, economic recovery should come through latest in the third quarter this year. And if that's the case, then the oil demand should be normalizing in the future, and that should result into fairly reasonable prices around $40 that range.
All right, Mr. Yu, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thanks so much for sharing your insights and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. You too.